Got the tumbler today, just so I don't spill coffee all over the whole set. As if we needed an extra tech problem. I don't think I will. Many years ago, I did spill coffee into a board, though. It was bad news. Hey everybody, welcome to Vince on a Monday. Boy, we have a huge show for you today. Vladimir Zelensky is arriving in Washington, D.C., has arrived to meet with the President of the United States after a gigantic summit in Alaska with the President of the United States. We got all the details on that. Also, Ed Martin stepping out in public for a big conversation. This show is brought to you by Blackout Coffee, the official coffee of all of us here at Silverlock. You can go to blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Use the code Vince, that's VINCE, and get 20% off your first order. Thank you to Blackout Coffee. Yeah, we got all the Zelensky news, the Putin news. We have Ed Martin, again, giving us updates, actual updates on what's going on as they investigate all these lefties, to include people like Adam Schiff, Letitia James, all the Obama people, the grand juries that are underway. I'm telling you, if you're watching anywhere else, you're missing all of these details. I'm here to share them with you today. Also, stopping by the program today, Michael Knowles is here. Super smart. Love Michael. Great to talk to him as always. Eager to talk to him today. I'm glad you're here to join us. Chad, I hope you had a nice weekend. More on that in a moment. It's all coming up. Got to thank our great sponsors. Do you ever think about aging? You ever think about it? Well, as you get older and a little more creaky, you probably do think about aging. And you notice as you get older, I certainly have, that my energy goes down. I've been trying to figure out a way to get it all back. And I'm very excited to share with you C15 from Fatty 15. This is the first essential fatty acid to be discovered in more than 90 years. Fatty 15 co-founder Dr. Stephanie Van Watson discovered the benefits of C15 while working with the United States Navy. And based on studies, we do know that when our cells don't have enough C15, well, they age faster. It's true. I did the research. You should too if you want. Fatty 15 can help you, though. It can help you repair and protect age-related damage to cells and help activate pathways in the body that do repair mechanisms that support our overall wellness. Fatty 15 is a science-backed, award-winning, vegan, 100% pure C15 supplement, and refills are shipped right to your door. I take it every morning. Every morning, first thing in the morning, big glass of water, and I take my Fatty 15. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help support your long-term health and wellness, especially as you age. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit. Just go to fatty15.com/Vince. Use the code Vince at checkout. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. All right. Yeah, I hope you had a good weekend, chat. Great to have you here with me as always. Rumble.com/Vince if you want to get onto the live chat. It was a fun one. I was out on the Potomac River. You don't want to go into the Potomac, but it's perfectly fine to float on top of it with my great buddy, longtime producer Corey, and we were just having a wonderful time floating out there. But you know what was neat? It was a beautiful night. First of all, Saturday night, the wind was nice and it was nice and breezy. It was cool enough by the time the darkness set upon the land. Chris Plant, if those of you who listen to Chris Plant, the radio host, and his great wife, or as he calls her, his best gal. We're also on the boat with us and a couple of others. We had a wonderful time. But the neat thing, as we were drifting along the side of Washington, D.C., and then staring into where the Kennedy Center is, and staring into the Washington Monument, and just past the Memorial Bridge, for those of you who know D.C., those are areas where there used to be homeless encampments all over the place. And this weekend, there were not homeless encampments all over the place. It was wonderful. And I ended up talking to some friends, locals in Northern Virginia, who don't always get a chance to go into the city. They brought their kids into the city this weekend, and they said that it was amazing. It was for the first time in a long time, there wasn't blight everywhere. There weren't homeless people all over the place. They were able to walk into the museums with ease. It was like very light traffic getting in and out of the buildings. It was great. It was really great. And so I got to say, thank you to the President of the United States. It's just... What a joy it has been to see our nation's capital get cleaned up. And the people who are freaking out about this, these lefties, are just unreal. I mean, the fact is, this is the pro-crime coalition that's out there. And they had some weak, effete, little pathetic march they did over the weekend. Barely anybody attended it. That's because barely anyone's interested in making crime the norm again. President Trump's having a lot of success there, but it is causing some panic on the left. I'll get into some of those details as we go, not just today, but throughout the week. But it's great. Anyway, thank you to the president. We had a great time out on the boat. It was awesome. It was awesome. All right, let's see. They haven't done shit for the homeless. That's a total lie, Vince, says Decision Points. What the hell are you talking, Decision Points? Where have you been out there? Don't be a dummy. Go out there. Check it out. It's a big deal. They got all these homeless people off the streets. They put them in the shelters. They got them out of D.C. In fact, there was one homeless guy who straight up said he loves Trump, even though Trump keeps throwing his tents out. You see that this weekend? The New York Times had a piece. It was so funny. This guy was like, yeah, Trump keeps throwing my tents out. They keep clearing all these homeless encampments, and I keep losing all the tents. But I love them. I love them. And by the way, one more thing. You know, Decision Points might not know what's going on, but I'm here to tell you I do. You know, there was, I had a law enforcement source reach out to me this weekend and tell me, Vince, you would not believe how disgusting the inside of these tents are. They're getting all these people off the street. And when law enforcement goes, Department of Public Works goes, and they're getting these people off the streets, they're going up to these tents, they're clearing them out. The tents have human waste inside of them. Law enforcement's been retching. They said it's everything they can do not to throw up, just getting these disgusting tents off the streets of Washington, D.C. It's amazing. It's just amazing. Anyway, God bless the President of the United States for finally doing something about it. All right, we'll get back to some of that coming up. But first, I want to talk about the President on Friday. Last I left you, we were preparing for the President of the United States to meet with Vladimir Putin in Alaska. The left was, you know, as always, they just nag anything the president does and treat it like garbage. Oh, why are you meeting him in Alaska? What a concession. And the president did meet him in Alaska, and they set up a red carpet. They had both planes land right there on that joint base in Alaska. And it was an amazing sight to see. In fact, one of the great moments is as Putin was stepping off the plane, they flew a couple of B-2 bombers over the top of his head, which was totally awesome. Justin, do we have that clip of the B-2 bombers? Tell me we do. I'll tell you what, I can get it. I'll beat you to it. Here's the President of the United States buzzing these guys. Check this out. Look at that. Look at these bombers flying over the top of these guys. One more time for the people at home. Yeah, it was one bomber. You're right. It was one B-2, a couple of jets. So cool. Honestly, so cool. And just really, really awesome to see. That's a great way to welcome him. And the president was, you know, he had a good time with it. He said that he was very pleased with the way everything went down. They were there for about 3 hours. And the president absolutely crushing it. He said the meeting with Putin was extremely productive. Take a look here at the President of the United States talking about this.
An extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant.
Oh, my gosh.
But we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there. I would like to thank President Putin and his entire team, whose faces, who I know in many cases, otherwise, other than that, whose faces I get to see all the time.
Yeah, so the president said it was productive, extremely productive. We had a good chat this weekend. Now, that said, it is amazing just to watch the way that the press is reacting to all of this. They're upset. They're super upset that the president met with Putin at all. And we did get some details out of this. Take a look here. There's Steve Witkoff this weekend. He's the envoy, Cut 5, talking about what Putin agreed to in this meeting with the President of the United States.
The Article 5 guarantee of NATO, an attack on one and it's an attack on all. Russia would allow that to happen, that any further incursions into Ukraine, Russia would understand would be seen as an attack on all NATO members?
No, Jake, that's not what I said. What I said is that we got to an agreement that the United States and other European nations could effectively offer Article 5-like language to cover a security guarantee.
Okay, so let me pause on this for a moment because I don't know about you, but this is catching my attention. One of the things that we've been avoiding is lumping Ukraine in with NATO because we don't want to have to carry Ukraine's baggage, right? The goal here is to keep Ukraine out of NATO. Putin wants to do that because he doesn't want all of Europe and the United States to come hammering him if he engages in armed conflict with Ukraine like he's doing right now. And then we don't want Ukraine in NATO because we don't want to go into World War III with Russia. Seems pretty straightforward. So I'm a little curious what they mean by Article 5 protections. Article 5 is if you attack one, then you attack all. Basically, everybody comes flying in like a pack of screaming monkeys. We just come whooping your ass together. But that's not preferable. But in fairness to the Trump administration, we don't actually know the terms of this deal yet. They said Article 5 like protections. Steve Witkoff was asked for more clarification about this by Shannon Bream this weekend about what does that mean, boots on the ground. Is that what we're talking about? Look at cut 6 here. Here's what Steve Witkoff had to say.
It means that the United States is potentially prepared to be able to give Article 5 security guarantees, but not from NATO, directly from the United States and other European countries. That is big. I mean, really big.
Does it mean boots on the ground? What does it mean? But logistically?
I think part of the discussion that we're going to have on Monday throughout the day, because there's going to be breakout sessions there, is exactly the specifics of what the Ukrainians feel that they need. Because remember, as mediators, we were at this summit to advance the Ukrainian position, and we did that.
Yeah, they were at the summit. So I don't think that we got a ton of clarity on that. He's just basically saying there's Article 5 like. My guess is that if Putin agreed to it, which is what Witkoff said, then it is not a full-blown you attack us and then you attack everyone in NATO. It's a full-blown war. So we'll see. Obviously, as usual here, this is one of those areas where I'm like, all right, let's trust the president of the United States. Let's see what he comes up with here. Because the president this weekend, to reemphasize this point, he came out and said there is no way that Ukraine is joining NATO. That's not happening. And also, there is no way that Crimea is going back to Russia. Take a look. I want to show you this. This is the True Social post from the weekend. The president saying President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, or he can continue to fight. Remember how it started. No getting back Obama giving Crimea 12 years ago without a shot being fired, and no going into NATO by Ukraine. Some things never change. That's the president's position here. Now, one last thing before we move to Zelensky's visit to the White House today. Vladimir Putin was complimentary of the president this weekend, or on Friday, when he was at the press conference. He said, look, to be honest with you, without President Trump, you know, that things got dicey. But if President Trump were in office over the last 4 years, there would have been no invasion of Ukraine. Look at this.
I'd like to remind you that in 2022, during the last contact with the previous administration, I tried to convince my previous American colleague that the situation should not be brought to the point of no return when it would come to hostilities. And I said it quite directly back then that it's a big mistake. Today, when President Trump is saying that if he was the president back then, there will be no war. And I'm quite sure that it would indeed be so. I can confirm that. I think that overall, me and President Trump have built a very good, business-like and trustworthy contact. And I have every reason to believe that moving down this path, we can come, and the sooner the better, to the end of the conflict in Ukraine. Thank you.
All right, so that's, you know, Vladimir Putin extending an olive branch to the president of the United States, paying him a compliment, obviously hoping to keep him close, but saying that, you know, it's Biden's fault that things got as dicey as they've been. And you can stretch that out even longer, as President Trump did. It's Obama and Biden's fault that things got as disastrous as they did in that region of the world. Never should have been that way. And it got us ensnared in a complete mess that President Trump is now trying to clean up. That leads us to today. You have Vladimir Zelensky arriving in Washington, D.C. overnight. And he is set for some big White House meetings today with the President of the United States. But he's not going to be alone here. In fact, a bunch of European leaders are traveling with him today to the White House, or they're all arriving together. They're holding a big summit at the White House. Now, the way the press is spinning this is that these European leaders are trying to stop Trump from, quote, bullying Zelensky again. Oh, we bullied him last time. No, Zelensky ran his mouth. He was completely disrespectful to the President of the United States and the Vice President. And my suspicion here is that these European leaders are in part here because they want to make sure that Zelensky doesn't put his foot back in his mouth again. Zelensky, according to some early reports this morning, will be arriving at the White House in a suit this time. That's good. Here's how this went down this weekend. Cut 8, here's Marco Rubio tearing Margaret Brennan limb from limb for suggesting that these leaders are here to stop Trump from being a bully.
His advice to President Zelensky is make a deal. Russia's a very big power, and they're not. You know, there is concern from the Europeans that President Zelensky is going to be bullied into signing something away. That's why you have these European leaders coming as backup tomorrow.
Oh my
Can
gosh.
you
No, it isn't. That's not why they're coming
them?
as back. That's not true. No, but that's not that's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're
well,
not
that
coming.
February
in fact,
Oval Office
they're coming
meeting
here
in
tomorrow
front of television cameras where President Zelensky
Do you know how many meetings
was
we've
dressed
had since
down.
then?
Oh, no, I know. And I was just up in
Yeah, but we've had
Alaska
a bunch of
watching the
meetings
one
since
with
then.
Vladimir Putin where a red carpet rolls rolled out.
No, but it
for
was
them.
Zelensky.
It was
We've had
very
more
different.
meetings. We've had one meeting with Putin and like a dozen meetings with Zelensky. So, but that's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're coming here tomorrow because we've been working with the Europeans. We talked to them last week. There were meetings in the UK over the previous weekend.
And they said President Trump was going to demand a ceasefire
as early as Thursday. No. But you said that they're coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're not coming here tomorrow. Oh, this is such a stupid media narrative that they're coming here tomorrow because Trump is going to bully Zelensky into a bad deal. We've been working with these people for weeks on this stuff. They're coming here tomorrow because they chose to come here tomorrow. We invited them to come. We invited them to come. The president invited them to come.
And the point here is that the United States shouldn't have to carry the burden anymore. Europe needs to carry its own weight in this equation. So the plan is get everybody in the room. Everybody sits down. We hash this out. We'll get all the players involved. And the president's already indicating that if things go well here today, Monday, with Vladimir Zelensky, they could have a trilateral meeting with Vladimir Putin by the end of the week. That's how quickly President Trump wants to get this thing done, because it's dragged on long enough. President Trump has already indicated, including in an interview with Sean Hannity this weekend, that I want to get this done immediately. I want to set up a meeting between all of us. Take a look. Here's the president this weekend, right out of that meeting with Vladimir Putin. Take a look.
But there's not that much as Zelensky to get two pretty significant items, but I think they can be reached. Now it's really up to President Zelensky to get it done. And I would also say the European nations, they have to get involved a little bit, but it's up to President Zelensky. I think we are, and if they'd like, I'll be at that next meeting. They're going to set up a meeting now between President Zelensky and President Putin. And myself, I guess, I didn't ask you about it. Not that I want to be there, but I want to make sure it gets done.
All right, so the president's ready to go. He just wants to get this thing done, and rightfully so. So we'll see progress this weekend with Vladimir Putin. A lot of conversations going on with Vladimir Zelensky, including in person, as Zelensky shows up reportedly in a suit to the White House today. European leaders present for that, and we'll keep an eye on it and bring you any breaking news updates on the national radio show and certainly on tomorrow's edition of Vince. Up ahead on the program, we've still got waiting in the wings. Michael Knowles will be here, and I want to share with you the latest on the accountability push, the grand juries that are underway as Obama World is investigated by the Trump Department of Justice. A lot of seismic updates on that. I'm really glad to see what's happening here. I'll share that with you in just a moment. Before we get there, I have to thank our great sponsors. That includes Jacked Up Fitness. was just doing pull-ups this morning on the Jacked Up Fitness machine. More and more Americans are prioritizing their wellness and getting back in shape, but studies have proven that strength training does more to help burn fat than cardio alone. I've been working with Don and the team over at Jacked Up Fitness for a couple of months now, and they're great. They really know what they're doing. The all-in-one home gyms by Jacked Up Fitness are already best in class. Trust me, I have one just feet away from me here. But now their all-new X Series takes home fitness to the next level. The Power Rack Extreme Functional Trainer lets you do hundreds of exercises, basically everything you would do at the gym, right from your spare room or your garage. Want more? The Power Rack Pro X features a fully upgraded cable crossover system with articulating pulley arms for unlimited width combos. You're going to hit every muscle group. And if you're new to this, no worries. They've got a free Get Jacked Up video program. And it's great. All you have to do is press play, and then you follow along. No more excuses. Let's do this together. Go to getjackedup.com. Use that promo code Vince and save 10%. That's getjackedup.com. Jacked Up Fitness. I do love the Jacked Up Fitness machine. And I was doing pull-ups. You know, it was one of the cool things about the they've got all these pull-up variations, like wide grip, narrow grip, you know, that kind of thing. And when I first started, I could only bang out a couple of clean, full extension pull-ups. Now I'm easily doing, depending on how rested I am, somewhere between 10 to 15 at a time when I'm fresh, and then I just keep going. It's great, and it's all that that Jacked Up Fitness machine is awesome, so I highly recommend it. Get jacked up. All right, let's see. I've got a lot. Okay, Ed Martin, the weaponization czar, appeared on Maria Bartiromo's show on Fox News this Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo, and it's been awesome actually listening to Ed Martin talk about all this because. He gave us some meaningful updates. So let's see where I should start here. I want to start with the fact that over the weekend, going into the weekend, Ed Martin was spotted in Brooklyn wearing his investigator trench coat, showing up outside of Letitia James's Brooklyn home, which is a lot of fun. Take a look. I've got this here on the Rumble feed. Here's Ed Martin, the New York Post capturing this. Standing outside of Tish James's home, you know, trench coat on. He's got his aide with him, and they're assessing the home. Now, remember, Letitia James has been accused of mortgage fraud for claiming 2 different homes as her primary residence. Not supposed to do that. Adam Schiff is guilty of the same thing, allegedly. And Ed Martin has, we believe, and as you hear the audio, launched grand juries, has been able to impanel grand juries to go after both Letitia James and Adam Schiff. Not a small deal. And so we get some details from Ed this weekend on everything that's going down. Let's take a look here. Let's start. We'll start from the very top. Here's cut 1. This is Ed Martin saying Pam Bondi has us working like crazy right now. Take a look.
Attorney General Bondi has that Department of Justice spinning like a top. We've got more stuff going on. A lot of it we can't talk about because of the nature of it, but it's going like crazy. And one of them was we were in a group, we're still in it, working on the Russia hoax.
Yeah, they have us spinning like a top right now. He's got Pam Bondi has prosecutors working as we speak on the Russia hoax, says Ed Martin. So if you're looking for something measurable there to say, hey, are they actually doing things? Yeah, not only is the FBI doing a crap ton, they're doing a ton of digging and a ton of transparency stuff. On the prosecution side, Ed says Pam Bondi has us spinning like a top right now. And then he gets into more detail, in particular about Letitia James and Adam Schiff. Take a look, cut 2 here.
When Bill Pulte sends a criminal referral over to us, and he says Letitia James and Adam Schiff, and by the way, both their lawyers have come out and talked publicly about that criminal referral. So you can talk to them about the specifics, because I'm going to tell you what we're going to do is we're going to follow the facts. Every American that has a mortgage or has other documents they sign has to follow the law. We're going to go to the very bottom of the facts, and if somebody did something wrong, we're not only going to hold them accountable, we're also going to look at everything else that they've been doing, because when you're a liar, you lie not just on one thing. When you're a cheater, you cheat not just on one thing. When you're doing corruption, you generally don't just do it on one thing. So we have that's our what we're asked to do as prosecutors, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, all right. A couple things going on here. One, in our Rumble chat right now, I saw Viva Frey is here. Hey, what's up, dude? Good to have you with us. He's a lawyer. So here's the thing I want you to think about. What you just heard from Ed Martin. He said, when you lie and you cheat on one thing, chances are you're lying and cheating on a lot of other things as well. And what you're seeing from Ed Martin is a hand tip. Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention to that. If he's impaneled grand juries to go after Adam Schiff and Letitia James, these grand juries can become unwieldy for the person they're going after very quickly. It's not going to just be limited. This is Ed Martin telling you right now, this is not going to be limited to mortgage fraud. Mortgage fraud is the door that is opening. That's the way to open the door. That's it. Beyond that, all of the stuff that the grand jury is going to start looking at, it's going to get more and more and more expansive. This is not a good situation for Adam Schiff, who, remember, in the past week was just accused of leaking classified information to pursue an indictment against Trump by a Democrat Party whistleblower. This is huge. In other words, they found something credible to open a grand jury against these guys, the mortgage fraud accusations, and now things are going to get completely out of control for Letitia James and Adam Schiff. So keep your eye on that. Ed Martin is being very suggestive in that clip, but I don't think people appreciate generally the detail that he was giving there. Other things. Martin confirmed, yes, I was visiting Letitia James's home in Brooklyn. Take a look, cut 3.
I was in Newark, actually, New Jersey, for some meetings, and I went over to New York for another meeting, and I went by there. One of the referrals is about that property that she has. Is a very prominent neighborhood in Brooklyn, and I wanted to lay eyes on it. I think most people, if you're prosecuting something, you're careful. I didn't go there and announce it. Some woman came storming up and shooting video and talking to me, but I wanted to see the property, and there's a number of other aspects of these cases where you got to get a sense of what is actually at stake.
Do you have a grand jury in these cases?
Let me say, when you get a criminal referral, one of the tools you have is a grand jury, and I'll leave it to you to infer what I mean. But these referrals are criminal referrals, significant enough that that they would warrant using all the tools, and the tools include subpoenas and witnesses, and that is in our system. That is the system. I'm not like Jack Smith. Jack Smith liked to talk about how he did things and what he did and brag about it. Letitia James did, by the way, as a prosecutor. She liked to come out and hold press conferences. I'll just tell you, when you get a criminal referral, and her own lawyer made the comments publicly, you can infer what you need to.
You can infer what you need to. How hard can he possibly tip the hand he's holding right now? You're staring at it. You get to see all the cards, all the suits. You know exactly what he's saying. Yes, grand juries have been impaneled. That's the answer from Ed Martin without actually saying it. That is the answer. Great news. Staggering news out of the weekend. Wonderful news. Not appreciated to the extent that it should be. This audience appreciates it. More. Guess who else they're investigating? That's right. The January 6th committee. Cut 4. Ed Martin explains there are people here who did not receive pardons from Biden. They should watch their mailboxes.
What about the January 6th committee? Did they destroy evidence? Is there criminality there?
Of course. We're all in that too, and trust me, a lot of people did not get a pardon that were involved in the select committee, and they ought to be keeping an eye on their mailbox, because there's a lot to be asked about.
Yeah, boy, that brings a song to my heart and a tear to my eye. I love that. I love that. So Ed Martin giving us that detail too. And lastly, here from Ed Martin, while we're celebrating his excellent appearance this weekend, he says. When everything comes out, the stuff that they're working on, all of these hoaxes are going to be taken down. Cut 5. Here's Ed.
I'm telling you, Pam Bondi has let us loose, and when this comes out, it'll take the whole of these people's hoaxes down, and we're doing it bit by bit, and it's fantastic. It's a great privilege.
Yeah. All right, so Ed's excited. Ed's got a lot to be excited about. You know by now, if you've been following this show for these past many months, Ed Martin is a patriot. We've had him here on the program. I'd like to get him back again soon to talk about all of this. He went quiet for a while as they've been plugging away at things. Good to see him out in public again talking. And look, that guy should have been the U.S. attorney. He was stopped by a guy called Thom Tillis in North Carolina. He should have been the U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C., but But we've got something really great going on here as he runs the weaponization subgroup. And now he's going after Adam Schiff. The Senate blocks him. Senator Adam Schiff did not want Ed Martin to become a U.S. attorney. And now Senator Adam Schiff has Ed Martin breathing down his neck. I love that. One more thing on grand juries that you should see. This is an important piece from the weekend as well. John Solomon said this in a couple places, but he said this in particular in the clip we're about to share with you on Steve Bannon's War Room. Here is cut 9. John Solomon saying that right now there are 4 grand juries impaneled in New York, Virginia, and Pennsylvania. Notice I didn't say Washington, D.C. Here's John Solomon.
Yeah, and I'll confirm for you, I have been able to confirm with witnesses that there are at least 4 grand juries currently doing work on the weaponization, Russia collusion, all the way through Ukraine impeachment investigation. That's the grand conspiracy case. One's in New York, 2 in Virginia, 1 is in Pennsylvania. That's what I've been able to learn thus far. So the grand juries are working. Where they are doesn't matter. That doesn't mean where the indictments are. It just means it makes it easier for people to gather evidence. So, but that's a big deal.
Yeah, a big deal. And get it out of D.C. That's a really key point, because D.C. is just a rigged system designed to eternally benefit Democrats in the cruelest and most corrupt ways. So keeping it out of D.C. is really important. But 4 grand juries impaneled. This is not a small deal. We got a lot going on. New York makes sense because of Letitia James. Virginia, I think some of the perpetrators that we're talking about live in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So these are critical. And Pennsylvania is an interesting one. I see some people speculating that Pennsylvania may have something to do with the 2020 election. Perhaps. There's clearly something big happening right now. You'll get all the updates here and all the first indicators for that matter. Okay. Coming up, Michael Knowles stops by. We have a lot to discuss with him. He's got such smart insights. Can't wait to do it. We'll do that in just a moment. But first, I want to share with you our great sponsors. That includes Hillsdale. You ever just want to turn off the news and ignore politics? It can be overwhelming, but here's the thing. We're citizens of a republic, and the decisions that are made by our government affect our everyday lives. In order to be a good citizen, you got to read and understand the United States Constitution. And that's why I'm excited that Hillsdale College does offer a brand new, free, completely free online course called The Federalist. The Federalist Papers were written primarily by 2 of America's most important founding fathers, Alexander Hamilton and James Madison. Together, they explain how the United States Constitution established a government strong enough to secure the rights of citizens and safe enough to wield that power. Hillsdale's online course on The Federalist includes 10 lectures. They're each about 30 minutes long. You can take the course at your own pace. There's no cost to sign up. Plus, Hillsdale offers more than 40 other free online courses. And the Federalist course is neat. People think of the Federalists as the winners in that scenario, and of course they were, basically. But the Anti-Federalists inspired the Bill of Rights. And these are the details that are all inside this excellent course from Hillsdale. You should check it out. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/Vince to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/Vince to enroll for free. Hillsdale.edu/Vince. Also, you already know the name, Blackout Coffee. I start my day with it every day. Proudly the official coffee of all of us here at Silverlock. There's a reason for that. It's bold, it's unapologetic, and it's America First coffee, roasted fresh right here in the United States. It's not grocery store junk. Blackout Coffee delivers rich, high-quality roasts that actually taste like freedom. And now you can set it and forget it with auto refill and recurring delivery. This means no more running out, no more watered-down backups, just your favorite roast delivered fresh on your schedule. Pick your favorite roast, how often you want it delivered, and not only do you get a discount, but you also get double the rewards and free shipping to your doorstep. I love Blackout Coffee. I drink my coffee black so I can tell whether it's good or not. Blackout Coffee is phenomenal. Here's what to do. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Use the code Vince, that's VINCE, and you'll get 20% off your first order. Whether you're into bold, dark roasts, flavored coffee, or even instant, Blackout's got your back. Real coffee, no compromise. Blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. I'm wearing the shirt today. Blackout Coffee. Go get yours now. Blackout Coffee. Thank you to Blackout. And if you can hear Major, he's whining in the corner of the room. That's my dog. Okay. Let's do it. Joining us right now from the Daily Wire, we have Michael Knowles. He's got a great new documentary out. It's called The Pope and the Fuhrer, The Secret Vatican Files of World War II. Michael, good to see you again, sir. Thanks for doing this.
Great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
And congratulations on the new documentary. Tell us a little bit about what this is. You know, you take a look at Pope Pius XII and what he was up to during World War II. What was he up to?
Well, listen, there's generally not a great time to release a docuseries on an event that's really interesting to me, but a lot of people don't really care about the papacy. They've never heard really of Pius XII. They don't, and we're in this moment right now where we have a new pope. He's an American pope. All eyes are on the Vatican. There's a huge upsurge in religion, especially among young people, especially returning to more traditional forms of the faith and even Catholicism. So I said, all right, well, this is the moment. We got to put this out right now. And also because it ties into something that we've talked a lot about recent years, which is fake news. Because if anyone ever were the victim of fake news, Pius XII would be pretty high up on that list. He's been called the silent pope. He's been called Hitler's pope by propagandists. He allegedly was silent or even complicit in the Nazi atrocities. It's just bunk. It's just not true. And it's an attack leveled on the church by the church's historical enemies, communists, the left broadly. Don't forget the term the left comes from the French Revolution to attack the church, to attack throne and altar. So I think it's a really important series to clear things up. You know, Hitler was an enemy of the church. The church fought very strongly against Hitler and saved a lot of lives and did a lot of good. And, you know, a little sunlight is a great disinfectant on those lies. While we're correcting the record on so many other calumnies in our culture, I think it's really important to correct the record on this one because the church is the oldest institution in the West. It's the only one that has survived from antiquity until the present. And if the West has any meaning at all, I think it probably has something to do with the church.
Suggests that what Pope Pius XII was probably doing was not engaging in social commentary, but instead trying to figure out ways to protect Christians from dying.
To protect Christians and Jews. This is the other thing that he has not really been given proper credit for, is even just immediately in Rome, Pope Pius XII did everything possible and succeeded to a great degree in protecting Jews from being shipped off to the camps. And he did so with his authority as the head of the church. But then broadly throughout Europe, hundreds of thousands of lives were saved by Pope Pius's intervention. Pius, before he became Pope, was a diplomat. He was the Vatican's diplomat in Germany, actually. He had a very keen understanding of Germany, became the Vatican's top diplomat, and then ultimately became the Pope. And so it's a really timely, I think, because we live in an age where we think that we have to broadcast everything on TikTok and everything has to be really shiny and publicized. But the way that Pope Pius XII was so deeply engaged in the war was largely in silence. I guess in that part it's fair, but silence doesn't mean inaction. You know, it was in a clandestine way, but it was to great effect, and he deserves much more credit than he's gotten.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. So the documentary is out now. Can people see this now?
It's out now. It's exclusively on Daily Wire Plus. And I've been telling this to my audience. Look, Matt Walsh, he brought over a lot of subscribers because he's got some little movies. I don't know if you heard What is a Woman and
sure.
And so Shapiro he's brought over, but I want to beat them all. I want to bring over as many people as possible for a documentary on Pope Pius XII. That would give me a great deal of pleasure. I would rub it in their faces for weeks. So if you want to watch it, if you want to watch a series, Pope and the Führer, it's on Daily Wire Plus.
If you succeed, I'll be totally inspired, but I do think topically you probably are narrowcasting a little too much to dominate What is a Woman. That's funny. I love that, though. Well, I do hope you win. Let me ask you about some domestic politics stuff. The cleanup in Washington, D.C., I started the show by emphasizing that I noticed it this weekend. I was out on a boat on the Potomac, and I've got all sorts of friends in Washington, D.C. who say they can't even believe how much better it is. You hear from D.C. residents on the ground talking to local media, black residents of D.C. saying, I can't even believe it took this long. I'm so glad President Trump is doing this. But there's a category of elite, typically astroturfed white liberal, who is absolutely furious that President Trump is cleaning up the streets of D.C. And they're accusing him of, speaking of fascism, of being a fascist for doing it. What do you make of that response? How could there be a pro-crime coalition?
There's a pro-crime coalition and apparently a constitutionally illiterate coalition, because they're not just calling him the F word of fascist, they're calling him the F word of federalizer. Apparently Trump is engaging in a federal takeover of D.C. Just if any of them are listening right now, DC already belongs to the federal government. It is a federal district that goes back to the Constitution. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. Congress controls DC, quote, in all cases whatsoever. Then the president has had a role here as well. For 102 years, the president would appoint the governors or mayors of Washington, D.C. It only really starts in 1973 with the Home Rule Act that D.C. has a robust local government. Hasn't worked out very well if you've spent any time in the federal district. And even so, President Trump's alleged federal takeover of D.C. works within the context of the Home Rule Act. I think they should repeal the Home Rule Act, but President Trump is working within the confines of the Home Rule Act, taking over parts of the police department, as is his right. I spent a lot of time in D.C. Vince, you spent a lot of time in D.C. This place has gotten really bad. Democrat Congressman Henry Cuellar carjacked at gunpoint by Capitol Hill. Naomi Biden, the president's granddaughter, carjacked in a Secret Service vehicle in Georgetown. Georgetown's probably the nicest part of D.C. I have personally been out with a U.S. senator in a nice part of D.C. and saw him get carjacked. And not even because they thought he was a senator. It's just because carjackings happen in D.C. It's gotten so bad. Nobody really benefits from that. So the residents, I'm sure, are thrilled that the crime's getting cleaned up. The only people who are upset are the elite Democrats who never have to deal with the consequences of their policies, who live in gated communities in the suburbs and are attacking Trump for cynical political reasons while he gets the job done.
So, okay, I think you kind of answered my next question at the end there. Cynical political reasons. In other words, the only reason they object is because it makes Trump look good?
It makes Trump look good. And also, what they want is not to have the federal government reassert its traditional and constitutional role in the federal district. They want statehood for D.C. And the reason they want statehood for D.C. is because most D.C. residents are Democrats, and it totally shifts the balance of power in the Senate and the Electoral College. It would be completely contrary to the letter and spirit of the Constitution. But that's really what this is about. So,
also that argument is so easily pierced as fraudulent when you suggest retroceding what's left of D.C. back to Maryland. If you say, well, why don't we just give it to Maryland then, and those senators will represent you? Oh, you want representation? Perfect. We'll give you to Maryland. And they say, no, we don't want it. We don't want it. Why don't they want it? Because they want 2 free senators. It's as simple as that.
Simple as. That's what they're after. And so what Trump is doing, and I think this is really refreshing for a lot of Republicans, is he's wielding his just political power because the people voted for him. And so often we've gotten these squishy Republicans who don't want to wield any power. They just want to sit around and do nothing, and they make some kind of supposedly principled argument about it. Trump is saying, no, he said this in 2016. He said, I'm running for president so that you have good neighborhoods. And a lot of ideologues got upset about that. They said the president shouldn't be involved in good neighborhoods. No, he should be. It's about one nation. We don't want to have a nation of haves and have-nots, of the people who have to deal with crime and drugs, and a nation that gets to live in the suburbs and the gated communities. We want a thriving nation. D.C. is the nation's capital. It's a symbol of the whole rest of the country. We all have a right to that. And so the only thing I would say they need to go further. Deportation crackdowns are great. The crime crackdowns are great. But I was in D.C. over the weekend for an event. I was hosting an event for the Department of Education. And they still have those stupid pride flags up. Vince, it's August. I thought the Pride month, such as it is, was June. Now it's Pride quarter of the year. I don't want any of those pride flags. So whenever the wonderful new police and National Guardsmen have a moment, rip down those stupid flags. This is the people's capital. Put some American flags up.
Yeah, how embarrassing. I'm so sorry that it was like that when you arrived here. Can you talk more about the value of having a clean and functional and law-abiding capital? Because, one of the things that the Trump administration has talked about regarding crime in D.C. is if D.C. were its own country, that the State Department would warn people against visiting it. Like that's because it has crime rates that are at levels that normally the State Department alerts you before you go there. You probably shouldn't go. What's the value, you think, in having a clean and functional capital?
Well, to quote the butler from the first season of The Crown, it's in the little things that the rot begins. This is something Giuliani understood beautifully in New York in the 90s. It's that one broken window. That broken window, if you don't take care of it, the whole neighborhood's going to fall to pot, and there's going to be crime, and there's going to be drugs, and it all just kind of snowballs on it. So you have to take care of these little things. Also, because the nation's capital is a symbol for the rest of the country. Why do we have these big, beautiful neoclassical buildings there? Why? Is it just because the DC residents have good taste in architecture, increasingly bad taste in architecture? No, it's because it's a symbol of the whole country. The Capitol, the White House, the monuments on the National Mall. If the Capitol has fallen into decay and corruption and violence and disorder, that is symbolizing that has happened to the rest of the country too. And it's why, by the way, Trump does not want to just stop with D.C. It's why Trump says, we got to look at Baltimore. Baltimore, you feel like you're driving around Afghanistan when you're on the Amtrak going through Baltimore.
Yes.
And parts of that city look horrible. Oakland is a failed city. It's like a failed state, okay? And what Trump is saying, unlike a lot of his Republican predecessors, he's not just saying, yeah, whatever, you do you, figure it out. Yeah, if New York falls to hell, that's their problem. It's not my problem. No, Trump is saying, we're Americans, and our cities are part of our country, and Americans have a right to good cities, and I'm not just going to say, go to hell and you deal with your own problems.
Yes.
I'm the president of all Americans, and we're going to fix it.
You deserve better. So, one of the things I've seen, you mentioned Oakland, the mayor of Oakland is one of several black Democrats who run these cities that are doing very poorly. And the black Democrats who do run these cities have come together to agree on the reason President Trump is doing this is because he's scared of black Democrats. He's scared of black people in particular. Brandon Johnson said that President Trump is intimidated by the black intellect. That was his view. Why are they
his own? I'm sure, Brandon Johnson.
Exactly, specifically. Why, pray tell, are they racializing this particular question?
I think they're very nervous that Trump won 1 in 5 black male voters in 2024, and that does not seem like a huge number, but if you look at historic trends, that's a massive shift of black voters over to Republicans. Trump has done it uniquely. Bush was not able to do it. Bob Dole, John McCain, Mitt Romney. So Trump is representing the Democrats potentially losing their power. And the way that they're choosing to respond to that, I think, is probably wrongheaded, which is they're trying to just double down on the racial grievance, double down on the claims of racism or whatever, but it didn't work. They tried that 16, 20, 24. Black people moved more and more in Trump's direction. So now Trump says, hey, I want to help you. And unlike everyone in both political parties up until me, I actually care about you, and I don't want your kids to be murdered, and I do want your kids to be on safe streets. I just don't think it's going to work.
Okay. All right. And then let me end where I've been obsessing lately, which is, and I just was talking about before you got here, was the pursuit of justice for the Russiagate conspiracies. The administration clearly feels an immense amount of pressure, and I think it's coming from both directions. I think President Trump is hovering over the Justice Department saying, I need accountability. Meanwhile, the rest of us down here are going, we need accountability. What's going on here? What do you make of the state of play in that particular pursuit?
Well, it's a brutal problem for Trump and even for the DOJ, which is we constantly complain that there's never any accountability and these bad actors on the left get away with it. But we also have the attention of a fruit fly. So the problem really is even conservatives, not the ones who are watching your show, not the ones who are really plugged in, but there are plenty of conservatives who say, what was that? Oh, it was like 10 years ago, and Obama, right. Who's Obama again? And they just forget. And that's what the left is counting on. And not just the left broadly. I'm talking about these real bad actors, Clapper, Brennan, Obama himself, the Clintons, people who would appear to have broken the law and acted in a very corrupt way. They're just planning on all of us forgetting. And Trump doesn't want to forget, and I think a lot of the really fired up people in the base don't want to forget. The job for all of us is we need to convince those kind of pay attention people. You say, guys, if you don't hold them to account now, they're just going to do it again.
For sure. And if you don't hold them to account, you will let the energy out so sufficiently of the right that people are going to check out from elections. It's not, again, this audience, probably not. Your audience, Michael, probably not. But there's going to be broad categories of people who are going to be like, why am I voting? Why am I getting involved at all? Because every time I vote, I don't actually see the outcome I deserve. And then they become so disheartened, they disconnect from the process.
I think the vice president put it very well just the other day. He said, the left responds to power. Everybody responds to some degree to power, but the left really only hears power. And so it's simple as, if these people are not held to account for lying, weaponizing the government, subverting an election, and undermining an entire presidential term, if they are not held to account for that, I promise you they're going to do it again in 28 and 32 and 36, and it's not going to stop until we make it stop.
All right. Michael Knowles, thank you as always, man. You're the best. Appreciate you. And Michael does have that great new documentary, The Pope and the Fuhrer, The Secret Vatican Files of World War II, available now at the Daily Wire. Thank you, Michael.
Good to see you. See you next time.
Nice to see you. There he is, Michael Knowles. Always cool to have Michael Knowles stop by. Okay. He was just talking about this, all these guys need accountability and that people's attention span will move on. They're hoping you get distracted and move on to something else. That's definitely true of James Comey. James Comey is desperate for you not to talk about his crimes. In fact, the place that he'd rather be is getting you to talk with him about Taylor Swift. Have you seen this? I do not know what this guy is doing. I mean, other than putting together these gay diary videos, I can't even begin to explain what this is. Here is cut 10. Further reason for us to lock up James Comey so that the world is spared from things like this.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to my Substack. Last week's cold turns out to have been COVID. Quite a flashback. And Donald Trump is still president and still humiliating America on a national stage, standing next to Vladimir Putin. It's like a dream, a bad dream you can't wake up from.
I love it.
I don't want to talk about that bad dream this week. I want to talk about a truly inspirational public figure named Taylor Swift.
Oh, my God.
Of course, I watched her podcast interview with the Kelsey brothers. Of course, I watched the whole thing, although on YouTube, Patrice and I got kicked off for the last 15 minutes and finished it on her phone. But I watched
my goodness.
You see, Taylor Swift and I go way back. I went to my first concert of hers 15 years ago. I've been to a second, and I have
What is wrong with this guy?
financially support the attendance of a lot of family members at others.
He should be on a list.
Swiftie group chat. I know all her music, and I listen to it in my headphones when I cut the grass.
What? There's something desperately wrong with that human being. I'm a Swiftie. I know all of her music. I constantly go to her concerts. I financially support people who go to her concerts. You are so, I don't know. He's such a basic bitch, that guy. That's unreal that you put that on video and you shared that with the world. You should keep that to yourself. Don't say that out loud. It's kind of embarrassing, actually. Here he is saying that he was at recently, he was describing what occurred at his second Taylor Swift concert. Here's James Comey.
At my second Taylor Swift concert in Hartford, Connecticut, 14 years ago this summer, she sang a song about this topic, asking, why you gotta be so mean?
Oh my goodness.
And she spoke directly to the nasty people. I bet you got pushed around.
He's a teenager.
Cold, but the cycle ends right now.
He's an angsty teenager.
On that road. You'll be glad I didn't sing that. That's right. Because
why is he
down
wearing a
that
suit?
road is unhappiness. Nobody should have that power over us. Thank you, Taylor Swift. Keep the faith.
Why is he wearing a suit, staring into a camera, reading a typewritten monologue about Taylor Swift? What the hell is that supposed to be? That's so crazy. Why you gotta be so mean? He's an angsty high school girl. An overgrown, angsty high school girl making shell art about how much he hates President Trump on the beach and then posting it to Instagram. There's something desperately wrong with that human being. You know, we ran that video through a truth filter, actually, for you this morning, because I do feel like you are owed a better clip of James Comey than the one you were just delivered. So here is James Comey as put through the Vince program's excellent high-tech truth filter. Here he is.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to my super ultra gay narrated journal, Substack. Last week's cold turns out to have been COVID, and I'm a big bitch who is afraid of the China virus, so it was quite a flashback. And Donald Trump is still president and still the greatest president who ever lived, and I'm so glad he's trying to put my lying, treasonous ass in jail while he negotiates with my good buddy Putin, who helped me create a total hoax about Trump. I want to talk about a truly inspirational public figure named Taylor Swift. I turned in my man card only minutes after being born, and I've been a perpetual bitch ever since. My spineless ass would leave my entire family for the opportunity to meet my greatest idol, Tay-Tay.
I can't even believe the technology exists for that, man. Things are moving very fast, aren't they? Justin, I don't know how we did that, but I'm very impressed. Thank you for that. So, yeah, what's that, Justin? Oh, yeah. Oh, the same way we got the Jim Acosta exclusive? Well, whatever it is, it's very high tech, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that we get these guys telling us the truth. That's the only time you're ever going to hear that. We should get more testimony from Comey, though, to give us more of a sense of how exactly he betrayed the country and abused his power and tried to destroy an entire presidency, but failed at doing that. Maybe we'll do further interviews with the truth filter James Comey in the future. But that's what that guy is up to. That's what that guy is up to. It's just remarkable that what possesses. How old is James Comey? Let me check real quick. I want to make sure about the age here. How old is James Comey? He's 64 years old. He's 64 years old. He's filming selfie videos wearing a full suit, talking about how he knows every one of Taylor Swift's songs and how Taylor Swift is inspiring to him and is helping him cope with not liking Trump. Did I get all that? That's crazy. That's really completely crazy what we're hearing. So anyway, that's James Comey, in case you were wondering. And he's definitely one, to be clear, who's on the list. He's on the list. And so I don't know how long Comey's going to have filming videos like that and releasing them in public, but boy, I can't wait for those to end. All the more reason to cuff that guy. Put him in cuffs. I told you earlier that there's a homeless man in Washington, D.C. who his name is David Barnes. Check this out. This is it's the Daily Caller with the summary here. David Barnes, a homeless dude living in Washington, D.C., just told the New York Times on Friday he doesn't regret voting for Donald Trump, despite his tents being tossed out amid Trump's calls to crack down on homelessness and crime in the city. David Barnes, who is homeless, told the New York Times that he found his tent, which had previously been located in Washington Circle, missing after police officers had once again thrown his possessions in the trash. Barnes told the outlet that Trump in his presidency has taken away not one, two of my tents. Isn't that amazing? Boy, that's a big degree of winning. If you are such a good president that you could take the guy's tents over and over and he still supports you, it's a sign you're succeeding. Despite this, Barnes told the New York Times that he previously voted for Trump and would vote for him again due to the president striving to keep the nation's capital pristine and beautiful. The report comes amid Trump's ongoing crackdown on homeless encampments in D.C. Okay, here's the thing, though. This guy, David Barnes, who is homeless, he should go get a home. He should take up residence in a state where Trump can actually win, or somebody like Trump can actually win going forward to the future. David, move to Virginia. Give us another vote in Virginia. We'll get that thing a little bit closer to actually voting for a Republican again. How about that? And maybe J.D. Vance in the next cycle. So find a place, set up shop there, and let's have your vote there. That'd be good. But there's the president cleaning up the city. That's great news, too. And I got to say, everybody I keep talking to, they love it. They absolutely love what the president is doing right now to fix things up. All right. I've got a big national radio show coming up today. We're going to do that 12 to 3 Eastern time, as we so often do. You can check that out. Go to thevinceshow.com, thevinceshow.com, and it is there on the local listings. I'll even show it to you for the Rumble chat. On the local listings, you just click where to listen up on the very top, and it's got all of the many hundreds of radio stations all across the country. Just scroll for your state, find your state, and see if there's a place to listen nearby, and you can listen on your local radio station, or just come to rumble.com/Vince and join us on the live chat. You can do it there. I am constantly referring to the live chat on the radio show. People are leaving me messages. I'm reacting to them. We're doing it for the national radio audience. So if you want to be involved in that, come and stop by the Rumble chat. I'll chat with you there. Always great to have you. So what's going to happen is tomorrow we're going to have a review of the president's meeting with Zelensky, set to happen shortly as we're doing this program live. European leaders are set to arrive at the White House at noon today. The president does greet Zelensky at 1 o'clock p.m., and then he'll have a meeting shortly after that. So this will all be happening during my national radio show. So if you want to tune in to the live developments there, you can. We'll have that going on. Then the president spends time with the European leaders, and then they're going to have what's called a family photo at the White House. That's with all the world leaders together who are present at the White House. And then they're going to have a big meeting later in the day around 3 o'clock as my radio show is concluding. So if you want to keep track of all of the news events, track the radio show today. We will have those all coming up. Also, KT McFarland is going to stop by the radio show. So we've got a big update from her. Very smart. She'll give us her assessment of the meeting with Putin and how Zelensky could proceed today and not screw things up. Stay with us. Got a lot more updates ahead on The Vince Show and on Vince. Appreciate you as always, the best damn audience in media. Coming up next, right here on Rumble, Steven Crowder takes things away. Stay tuned for that.